I'm doing good. I muted myself, apparently.
I do that all the time. It's awful.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so glad I'm not the only one who does that.
I am good. How are you?
Good, good. Where's everybody from? I'm in central Iowa. I'm in Ames.
I'm in Cedar Rapids.
Okay.
Council Bluffs.
Council Bluffs. Okay. So we got a good part of the state covered up here.
And I'm not a member. I heard of this meeting through one of our providers, so I thought I would jump on. So I don't know if that's okay or
Yep,
I've been
that's
looking
perfect.
So
yeah, so we'll just kind of give people a couple more minutes to get on here. So what provider do you work for or are you affiliated with?
Full Circle Therapy.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Well, we're glad that you're here.
Thank you.
I always lose my Zoom icon and I'm like, where did it go? I can't find it. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and get started. This is going to be pretty informal. So I'm Kristen Buttermore, actually. I am the treasurer for IMHCA, and I've been on the board for a little over 2 years. So I'm on part of my duties are being on the executive committee, and we wanted to just hear from members and from other providers their questions and concerns about the No Surprise Act. So we kind of know where to focus our energies and our efforts. So far IMHCA is working with, they're just kind of collaborating and talking to other organizations like American Counseling Association. They're working with obviously the American Mental Health Counselors Association. They're talking with keeping tabs on what's going on in the APA, and then also working on communicating with like the NSW, that kind of stuff. So that IMHCA is kind of working with AMCA and trying to gather all of the information to see how this is impacting providers, what we need to do, and what our members want us to do as far as finding out information and advocating. So I am just going to kind of ask all of you that are here, the three of you so far. We have many more that are signed up, so hopefully they'll start trickling in here soon. What are some of the things that have been on your mind about the No Surprise Act?
I guess sorry, go ahead, Alicia.
No, go.
Something that I'm most concerned about, I guess, is what's coming down the pipe come March with the commercial insurance side of things. Because I feel like right now we pretty much have the out of network and the uninsured self-pay covered because we have like our own set private pay rates. We do sliding fee. And so that's all set up with the client. So I feel like we have that covered. I'm seeing that we're supposed to have things posted. I guess we don't have that covered. We need to get that part done. But that is like their rates are set, right? So they know the amount they're going to be charged. So I guess what's coming down for us is the concern about commercial insurance, because when we call on our end, we don't have a billing company check our insurance for us. We do that side of things. People with deductible plans, we don't know what they're gonna owe per session until after we bill. So I guess that's how are we supposed to give someone a guesstimate, I guess, even of what they're going to owe if we don't know ourselves until we submit a claim.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So, hey, Amy, we had just got started. We're just
okay. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late.
Nope,
I apologize.
You're fine. I was just telling everyone that we are as far as IMHCA, we're just trying to hear what other people's concerns and questions are so that we know kind of where we need to be looking and what our members want us to advocate for. So the first question I threw out was just, what are people's thoughts about it so far? So you just came in and you got pretty much all of it. So I think Alicia, you had some things that you were concerned about.
So my EHR actually came out with a form that we could give to clients and stuff and things to post, which that was nice. But I guess my thing is when do I need to use this? Like, do I need to get all my current clients signing this form? Is it just moving forward? Is it just ones that I know don't have insurance? I don't know when we need to use this versus do I just wait until I have somebody who says I want to do private pay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's my question is, I have the forms, I have the things posted. I just don't know when I'm posted. If I need to get all my current clients to sign forms.
Yep.
And all
Yep.
that.
Is anyone else on the Facebook group, the No Surprise Act for Therapists Facebook group? Okay. That is
Never heard of it.
Okay. That is a really good group. I'm going to try and see if I can find it real quick, and then I can like give you for sure the name in the description. It's called No Surprises Act for Therapists. And let me see here. I'm going to try and put this link in here in the chat. There's a whole lot of information on that. And then also the APA just came out with some new guidance, and their kind of message that they said was try to comply, but don't worry too much right at this moment, but we're still all kind of worried about it. So I'm going to, sorry, go ahead, Alicia.
I muted myself again.
No.
The panic has fully set in. Like, I heard it. I already had a panic attack. So I'm already over that.
Yep. Okay. I'm looking for another link to send you about from the APA here that might be helpful. Okay, so yeah, theirs basically says, what was their big? Their strategy. Let's see. So this one gives a lot of information about that. Basically, it sounds like it needs to go to everyone, current clients and incoming clients that are private pay. So does anybody else have any other like understanding of it, or any other resources that you found that have been helpful to you?
There's a couple of things on the ACA's website as well.
Okay.
It's probably similar to what APA has, but that's the stuff like the folks in my shared space. That's what we've kind of pulled from and modified a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll have to look for it. If I can just email it, the stuff that I have, if that's helpful at all. I don't know if I have it like handy right now, but yeah, I know they have like they have some sample documents and things like that on there too.
Okay. Yeah. Anything would be helpful.
I'll check. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, I'll check my email real quick. So I apologize if not focused.
Nope, you're fine.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, sorry. This is Lisa Turner. I'm with Catholic Charities, Archdiocese of Dubuque, and I'm in the Ames office.
Okay.
So I'll dig around in my email too, but my understanding is that our responsibility to notify insurance companies or clients who are insured has been delayed until 2023 because there's no mechanism in place for how we're supposed to notify payers. So I've chosen, well, I'm choosing not to worry about any of this, but I'm really not worrying about that. And then there's also a therapist out of California named Barbara Griswold, who does a lot on insurance stuff in general and documentation. And sometimes you have to be careful because California's stuff is different than ours, but she has some sample templates of letters and notice to clients that I've adapted for us. And again, if I can find those links, I'll stick them in the chat. But we haven't actually moved forward on sending anything to clients just yet.
Okay. And I know that through that Facebook group, I found some other, like there are quite a few templates that look like they're really helpful. So anything that you have would be welcomed for us to look at. So as far as like things that are on your mind right now that you would want IMHCA to advocate for, or information that you would want IMHCA to be focused on finding, what comes to mind for you? Sorry, Amy, I said that right when you like.
My apologies. I'm like, oh no, it's right when I put a bite in.
That's the way it goes.
I think for me, I think someone already mentioned it when I came in late. I apologize again, but just like how we apply it and when we have to apply it. I know it's later this year and early next year, like Lisa said, to private insurers, and how we do that with the wide range of, and not necessarily knowing if people have met their deductible or not, and different insurers, you can't always see all of that. And so then just basically like what's sufficient to give notice, and then also like, I currently have just kind of modified and included my fee schedule on, and then kind of guesstimated for people. That's my plan. I don't have anyone that this applies to yet, but that would be helpful information. And then also just like, what are other ways, if there's any like legal pieces from like a malpractice standpoint, that would be interesting to me to know, like what legally we need to do to cover ourselves if there's anything there. If somebody's like challenging it, is that something we need to let our malpractice insurers know? Those kinds of things would be something I would have a question about too, I guess.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Anyone else? What would be your questions or things that you would want IMHCA to advocate for or to look into more?
I guess the other conversation that came up in my office too was just like, we already do a fairly good job of this. I think most of us as therapists, because we provide fee schedules and have that conversation with clients up front. And so there was a little bit of like, this is just one other thing we have to do.
Yep.
And maybe some guidance on if you can or cannot, or how you should, if you should. We had a debate about, should we combine this with like our informed consent in some way, right? Or with our fee schedule in some way, or does it need to be a completely separate document? Because it seemed like there was a lot of overlap from the examples that I saw with like some information we have in our informed consents versus what's in that document versus like, could you adapt things to basically kind of smush it all so you don't have to give clients 42 pieces of stuff to sign? So sorry, I'll quit talking.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering, like, are there other conversations that have come up in other practices or other areas that you want to kind of continue in this space?
Well, I'm not sure if this is an advocacy type thing, but kind of to piggyback on Amy, I'd be curious to know, just as an ongoing conversation, not necessarily right this minute, like how everybody else is doing it. And is there kind of like any process steps that anybody would recommend? Because it is a little overwhelming to think of. Like a lot of you, we have a sliding fee scale, and we already know some of that's already in writing, but not in the format that the government's asking for it in.
Mhm.
And so like, just, some processes of how other people are doing it and how are they covering all of the existing clients in a way that's not alarmist. Because one of our concerns has been, if people see like an anticipated year of services that could, regardless of the number, that could be overwhelming depending on a person's income level. And so how do we give this to people without scaring them away from counseling? So like any language around that, or processes that are working would be kind of where my mind is going also.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Does anybody, because that's one of the things I've thought of. I'm like, you could be 1 to 2 times a week for an entire year, which could be X number of dollars. And that could be people saying, nope, I'm not interested in it when they see it in black and white. When it's like pay as you go throughout the year, that seems to be a little bit more palatable. So yeah, does anybody have any language or any ideas that they've come up with or that they've talked about?
I honestly haven't really thought about it.
Mhm.
But just thinking about it right now, I probably would just like try to focus client by client. And I don't know exactly what the rules are, but it's like, can we break it into like a 6 month, it's been a little bit since I've really dug into it, but can we break it into like, here's where we're at? Or do you really need to just talk with clients and go, hey, I might be overshooting,
Mhm.
but I want you to know at like, this is what it's going to be, the most that it could be kind of thing will likely be less than this, is there I feel like that's how I would handle it. I don't know if that's helpful at all, or if we have some flexibility there with clients, if we know, for example, that they're going to be anxious about it, or it
Mhm.
might prevent them from accessing services. Do we have some leeway? That would be good to know, I guess.
Mhm.
Another question I had and is, I'm in private practice. I own my own practice. So, and it's just me, and I currently don't offer a sliding fee. It's in either insurance or private pay, and that's what I do. So my question is, since I don't offer a sliding fee scale, how does that affect this good faith estimate for me as well? Because I don't do that. It's either insurance or they pay the flat 150 every session. So that's a question you may have answered it. I had to step away, I had a phone call, so I apologize. So, but yeah, but that's mine is, since it's not a big agency, it's just me. There's a lot of other questions too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's everybody?
I'm the same, Alicia. I'm private practice as well. So we do insurance or a flat fee, and we don't really adjust for anybody. Like it's too much work for me, frankly. And I'm not good at math.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. Does anybody else have any? Because my understanding was that it's kind of the same, even if it's the same price every time, or even if you don't have a sliding fee scale, you just would kind of similar to what we already do is like giving that rate list and then being very transparent with what our cost is per session. Does anybody have a different like interpretation of that? Okay.
I can tell you what we're doing, but I don't know if it's right or if it's going to change. So I don't want to be like, oh, well, Megan's doing this. Cause I mean, we are just kind of trying to figure out.
I think we're all in that same boat.
Yeah.
So thank you for being willing to share what you're doing.
We just made a form that says it has outlined everything that Medicare Services is requiring, because there was some really specific language that was required. And so we've added those statements to just a form, and we do a flat rate too. So we bill insurance this much, and we don't have a sliding scale or anything like that. So we put on there, if you have to pay out of pocket and you came every single week of the year for a 1-hour session, it would be this much. So like your yearly counseling charge would never exceed this amount. It's a big number. I mean, I think it came to like, I don't know, $8,000 or $9,000. And I was like, oh my God, that is ridiculous. We are not giving it to individuals that have insurance. And I mean, the way that it read to me was like, if an individual has insurance, and I missed the beginning too, so maybe you guys talked about this, but if an individual has insurance, then they don't necessarily have to fill this out right now. But the question that I kept coming back to was, so many of our individuals that carry insurance have their mental health coverage carved out to another agency that may or may not pay for mental health counseling. And so then you're like, well, I'm out of network with that particular place, but I didn't know that coming in. And so then I'm like, well, we have all of the prices. Clearly, we're all doing this in our, professional disclosure statements and our informed consent and financial consents. And we have it all listed out already. So I'm hoping that that's enough. And then we can get them to sign it if we realize that they are going to have to pay out of pocket or out of network benefits.
Is signature by the client required? Because I'm not seeing that on any of the templates that I'm coming across. Is that written in the language somewhere?
I think that it was, but I could be wrong about that.
The form that my EHR provided had a place for them to sign it, but I don't know if that's just so I could put it like in the portal that they have, so I could just send it to every client. Like, this is what our fees are, and then like that little Megan said, if you come this many sessions, it's going to be between this and this much. So I don't know.
What EHR do you use?
Therapy notes.
Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, and Megan, we were just kind of talking about that. Is it Kara or Kara?
Kara.
Okay. That was one of Kara's points, was what that looks like with insurance, and then just kind of that we don't always know. And then further on down the line, what is this going to kind of morph into, or what's going to be coming down next as far as that goes? So are there other concerns or topics or things that have come up with this? We really want to get a good idea of kind of what providers are thinking and doing with this, so that we know what direction that we need to go. And I feel like we have a pretty good idea, but we just want to make sure. And thank you to Lisa and Amy for sending some of your links and stuff. I'm going to save those, so hopefully we can get those sent out and everyone can start to look around those. So Megan, have you had any, or I guess not just Megan, but has anyone given any of these out and had reactions from clients yet?
I have given them out. One of the practices I work at is a private pay practice. And so we have to give it to our clients, and they were like, whoa, because you see a big number. I mean, it's a big number. That is a lot.
Yep.
And I just explained it, and like, this is something that I said, I think this is something I'm required to do, even though there's still a lot of questions about it. And I told them that it was for their protection, so that they wouldn't ever feel like they were overcharged or had any surprises coming at them. And they seemed okay with it. They weren't surprised. I think part of that is that I'm just so clear anyway when they start about what the expectations are and what the session fees are, and it's never gonna exceed this amount anyway. So it's a sticker shock, I think, but otherwise they weren't like surprised by it. I guess they just kind of signed it like it was another thing that they had to do.
Mhm.
In the other practice, we don't really have very many private pay clients. And so we haven't used it a lot over there to know how people would respond to that.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yep. For me, I know I have not given any out yet. I don't know that I have any straight private pay right now. Most of mine are insurance. So I haven't had a chance to see what their reaction is going to be. But on that Facebook group, a lot of people have talked about some of their people either being like, okay, yeah, I already knew this, or being like, wait, what? So I was just curious if anybody else had that experience yet.
Yeah, I guess I also kind of thought about describing it in terms if people were really struggling with it, of it's really probably more designed for like hospital settings, right? Where you're getting a bunch of testing and things going where like you don't necessarily know what what is coming at you. And like we just are in that group because we do health, you know, it's healthcare and whatever. And you already know because you have my fee schedule, you've had it, you know, kind of like reinforcing that you can always ask me questions. I will tell you, I'll be honest with you, or I will direct you to the people who can with your insurance company or whatever the situation. And I think my colleagues at our practice are basically in the same boat of like, we're just going to talk them through it of like, here's how it came to be. Here's we're doing what we got to do. Ask us whatever questions you have. And yeah, we get it. It's a big number.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, Amy. And I think it's so true. And to try to describe it as something not scary and something like, you know, ultimately, I believe that this was something that was put into place for your benefit and your protection. It just is very strange in this type of setting that we're in, that we have to go through this. But yeah, ultimately in other settings, I think there could be some huge benefits to it. And I do feel like it could be a huge protection for the consumers, but that's where things are hidden and we just don't hide those things. So yeah, just trying to be positive about it, even though it's seems a bit ridiculous for us.
Yeah. So what are people's concerns about if it moves towards like having to report to insurance companies and that type of thing?
That doesn't seem to make any sense to me because don't insurance companies already know what the
You would hope.
benefits they're providing to members and what the charges are going to be? I mean, we're only charging them what they're allowing in the first place. So that just seems ludicrous. So I guess in terms of advocacy, if there's any way to make that go away.
Okay, I'll write it down. I agree that it doesn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense, but
well, and as a private practice person it's just me, right? It's like, this is going to take a huge amount of time potentially if I'm having to call insurance companies for every single client and tell them whatever number and this and that to, you know, I agree with what was just said, you know, that like, yeah, you guys set the rates. So why do I need to tell it back to you?
It almost sounds to me like, and I don't know if any of you guys have experienced this, but when working in a substance abuse counseling center, there was like a whole department that would just go through and make all those like UR reviews with the insurance companies for getting authorizations and pre-auths. And I am concerned that this is going to turn into not only more time, Amy, but even more barriers for our clients. Because I mean, who has time to call? I mean, oh my gosh, who has time to go and call for every single person? And then are they going to be putting more flags in place and more, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know very much about it, but those were some of my initial thoughts when I read about that.
Those were mine too, Megan, because, you know, I don't have a secretary or an office administrator. And I was like, I have like 50 clients I've seen between 2 weeks, you know, oh my God, I don't even have time to eat some days. And and then wondering if there's penalties if I can't do it, or yeah, and then I'm like, do I have to hire somebody? Oh my God, how am I going to afford to hire somebody to do this? That was my panic, was if I have to call every single client, starting with what I have and moving forward, I'm never going to eat or sleep again.
Yep. So what are people's concerns? What would happen if there were more barriers? Like, if obviously I can kind of I know what happens when there's more barriers, but I just want to hear it from everyone else, like how we could let the powers that be know what the impact could be if there were more barriers to getting, or if there were fewer providers willing to see patients because of these barriers. What would be the impact? How could we express that to the decision makers? Does anybody have any wording for that, or any ideas how that would be most effective to be stated to them?
I think you're already dealing with providers who are burnt out from seeing, I keep telling people this is the busiest I've been in 15 years. Consistently. I haven't taken consistent new clients since October. And that's super unusual for me. I'm scheduling out a month and a half at a time for my current clients, which I don't like to do, but it is what it is at this point. And so I think you'll see like providers burning out and leaving the system and doing other things. I think you'll see providers not taking private pay or not taking certain insurances that are difficult to work with. That would be my guess. I think you'll see clients not coming when they need to be coming if they don't know what they're going to pay, or they can't figure it out, or there's extra work that they end up having to do. I think there'll be a financial cost, like as a private practice person, like that'll be a financial hit to me because I'm going to have to carve out more time in my week to do this stuff, and it will be unpaid. So, or like Alicia said, pay someone to do it, which is, not reasonable for most of us, I think. So anyway, those are my initial thoughts.
Yep. Any other one? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Just kind of thinking off the top of my head, but in a hospital setting, I think that people probably view physical health care as essential. And I'm not sure that they view mental health care in the same way. And so if people are going to elect how to spend whatever money they have, and they get this good faith estimate from their counselor, they might select to not use that, and instead use their healthcare dollars towards something that they perceive to be more life and death. And I think that just perpetuates the stigma around mental health, that it's inaccessible or not important or something that people can just deal with on their own. So I don't think it moves us forward in that regard. But that's a little less tangible than what Amy was talking about. But I think from a therapist point of view, equally important.
And I guess one of the things I wonder about is, are there going to be more people hanging out their shingle that say that they're a health coach or a wellness coach? And are people going to start to try and find these unregulated professionals because it's easier to access?
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
I think absolutely. I know we even see commercials right now for some different agencies where you can just log on and talk to somebody. I don't know this for a fact, but I don't think that all of those are regulated. I don't think that all of those are licensed counselors that are doing some of those positions already. So it's been promoted that way, and people already think that they can get on and talk to a licensed counselor for $30. It's not. Like, a lot of those people aren't licensed. And so I think that's already starting to happen. And then I wanted to piggyback, Lisa, off what you were saying. I wonder, I think absolutely right. I completely agree with that. And then just to add on to what you were saying, by people not accessing mental health care, they will have more physical health care needs. We know that there's a connection between people's mental and physical health. I mean, I'm not great. I don't really like to do research, but I do read it sometimes. And I know there's got to be some articles out there about it that would be like kind of prove that point where, man, if we could do more of that preventative work, it actually will cost people less money for their health care if they were to put it in there too. So I don't know if that is something that could be added.
Yep.
Well, I think that, I mean, I totally agree with that. And I think that when you look at county needs assessments throughout the state and how they're meeting their mental health needs, it's often through prevention and education. It's not through hiring additional therapists or because they're not there to hire. And so, yeah, which is not a bad thing. Prevention and wellness is great, but you're also putting fewer licensed professionals into those positions. And then, yes, bypassing these, paperwork issues. I had one therapist say, on one hand, this is flattering to be included in because it's acknowledging that people who work in mental health care are part of the medical profession, but at the same time, it puts a burden on us. Like, you don't see a whole lot of doctors just hanging a shingle out, one guy, doing strep tests. There's usually a whole infrastructure around them, and we often don't work with that infrastructure. And so, yeah, it's a different kind of burden.
Mm-hmm. Is there anybody here who has been doing more research on that connection between the physical health and mental health?
It just made me think of the ACEs study. I mean, I think that's the classic one that kind of demonstrated that. So it's been around forever. And we have our own version of it here, with the Iowa ACEs 360. So that data is there.
There's some good new, I mean, it's not new, but it's getting more traction, I think, than like 20 years ago. The idea of integrated health care and mental health care. There's a book by a Harvard nutritional psychiatrist. Her name is, I'm going to forget her name, Naidoo, Naidoo. I can't remember if that's her first name or last name. It's called This Is Your Brain on Food. It's amazing.
It's a great book.
And then I just did a 2-day training on integrated medicine, and there's probably a lot of research citations in that, but just there's a lot of connection between inflammation and mental health and the gut-brain connection. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of literature out there. I think mental health, was it just last year? Last 2 years have kind of, maybe it was 2 years ago. May is like Mental Health Awareness Month, and 1 year, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, they had their theme was the gut-brain connection, and they had a lot of material on that, which might still be on their website. And every once in a while, you can find a medical doctor who buys into that, but not often.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Even just a lot of the trauma research that's out there, that things that happen in utero from our mothers that impact us. And like, I don't know if everybody's heard of the book, The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel. Tons of research there. I mean, it's immense, I guess.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a conference recently, and it was put on by the University of Northern Iowa, the social work department. And I'm terrible with names. I can't remember. I will look it up and find out who it was, and I can send it to you. But there was the keynote speaker for that talked about, Lisa, that inflammation piece.
Yeah. I think I went to the same thing. I listened to 2 of her. One of them was on like postpartum.
Yes.
Yeah, she was good.
She was so good, and she has done tons of research on it. What do you remember her name, Lisa?
Oh, I'd have to, let me dig around in my computer. I think I downloaded her slides and stuff.
Because that, I bet, I mean, there was it was all just so much science, so much research that really made those connections. I had never heard some of that information before. So that's probably the most recent. And then there seems to be a lot more about sleep and how we can use like CBTI and different things like that to help with sleep. And I don't have a lot of experience with that, but I think that would be an area where you could see the connection between mental health and physical health really well. There's some research there. And then even thinking about, I work with a lot of people that have OCD, and thinking about the health illness anxiety, how they're constantly going to the doctor and having all of these tests run and spending all of this money when they might be able to come once a week and not spend those thousands of dollars at the doctor's office if we're just putting it down to that financial, number, but how they could feel so much better if they were to get mental health counseling and be able to tolerate some discomfort and reduce their stress levels, which reduces the pressure on their heart. I feel like we can make a big case for the connection between health and physical health and mental health.
Yep, agreed. Ooh, thank you, Lisa.
Yes.
Dr. Kathleen Kendall Tackett. Okay.
I'd have to dig around more to find her affiliation, but that was the name on my CEU certificate.
Okay. Yeah, that to me, that stuff is so interesting to me to see what's happening or like what research is being done, because I think you're right. People do assume that your physical health is where your dollars should go. And that's not always the most effective place to start or to go or to put your money. So are there other conversations that everyone wants to have about either the No Surprise Act or just anything else that has been kind of going on in practice or that you want to use this time for? Okay, so I'm just going to throw out a plug a couple plugs. One is Stay on the Hill. Information for that is going to be coming out pretty soon. So be watching for that. Then let's see, then the conference, those brochures for the conference are also going to be coming out soon as well. So hopefully everyone can take a look at those. And if you're not following us on Facebook and Instagram, we're trying to put more stuff on our Facebook page and then sending out our emails once a week for like updates and legislative, all of that kind of stuff. So if anybody has any questions about that, let me know, or you can just email anybody on the board. I'm trying to think of other plugs that I needed to give, but mostly to be watching out for those Day on the Hill and then the conference coming up. And then we are going to continue to look at ways that we can be proactive and ways that we can kind of keep finding information and advocating for members in this specific piece of legislation. Or I guess, is it law now or legislation? I don't know. That's why I'm not on the legislative committee, because I can't keep all of those things straight, but I can ask people questions about it. So that's where I'm at. Okay, so does anybody have any other questions or concerns that they want us to bring back? Okay, well, I appreciate everybody coming in and sharing your time and your thoughts and your everything, all of your knowledge. That is very helpful for us to go back to being sure that we're advocating for our members. And we'll watch out too. We're going to have some more of these kind of virtual networking things, and there's going to be some more things coming down, but that's it for now. So I appreciate everyone's time and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Happy Friday.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.